I like to dedicate this to all of the Creator's righteous children. I have some food in my bag for you. Not that edible food, that food you eat. No, I have some food for thought. Since knowledge is infinite, it has infinitely fell on me.
Akwesasne, peace, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a Ice Turtle Girl reviews / discovered type video, and it's going to be on a Netflix documentary / movie type thing called Keepers of the Game. Now, Keepers of the Game is a story, or the story, of a Mohawk tribe out of upstate New York who integrated their very first women's and girls lacrosse team. So, lacrosse, or stickball as most indigenous tribes call it in North America, stickball, it comes from the Creator. It comes from the sky, and it comes for our people, to heal our people, to help our people, as medicine for our people. Stickball is a very ancient game that was invented by indigenous peoples of Turtle Island, and many different tribes celebrate that legacy and have that as one of their origin stories. And it's a really beautiful, spiritual, ritualistic game that many tribes are actually picking back up and re-evaluating the way that they play it, and trying to bring back more of their culture and spirituality into the game, and not just see it as another sports game, because it was brought to indigenous people to help us heal, for medicine, for prayer. And so it is so beautiful to see that this game is being so widespread by different tribes of Turtle Island. It's just really beautiful. Now, what's unique about this story is that in many tribes, it is said that only the men or the boys can play lacrosse or stickball. And there's never really been women or girls on lacrosse teams or stickball teams. And I mean, in some tribes, like I've seen in the Choctaw, the Oklahoma Choctaw, they actually have women stickball players, and they're fierce, man. They are so cool. They're dope. But for the Mohawks, for this tribe of upstate New York, they didn't actually have women playing on their lacrosse teams or their stickball teams ever. So it wasn't until 2015 that they finally decided that girls should be allowed to play stickball as well. And it's really a beautiful story. You should definitely check it out. It's called Keepers of the Game. Now, this story, of course, with any indigenous story, had, of course, to do with lacrosse and stickball and the lineage of that and what the sport means to the tribe, but it also had a lot to do with us as a people, indigenous people as a people, right? And what I mean by that is, so there was a story, and it was of, there's many different stories weaved into one of the story of stickball, but there was a few different types of stories. One of them was that you had the clan mother, who was very much about upholding what was set up in the past and brought down from generations to generations, about what you're supposed to do in the tribe, right? And for this particular Mohawk tribe, women were not allowed to play lacrosse. And so she was very conflicted when her daughter decided that she was going to play lacrosse. She became very super duper conflicted about it because she didn't know if she should accept that or not, because she didn't want to go against what has been passed down from clan mother to clan mother over generations. Now, me personally, I think that once colonization hit Turtle Island, that many sexist, many men-driven practices ended up coming to more matrilineal societies, and that was really sad because it really ruined the self-esteem and the beauty of women, of indigenous women, and it really messed up everything. And so I feel like these women, because they either go along with what the men say or something horrible happens, and so it's sad. It was kind of sad at first to hear her say that, but after a while she totally got on board with it. She was like, yes, women and girls have just as much right to play lacrosse as these men do, and these boys, and it's your time. And it was really beautiful to see that she finally was able to let go of the past and what was passed down and start new and fresh, a new legacy of women playing stickball and reclaiming the game for themselves. And I think that was so beautiful. Another story that was really, like, I could totally relate to it in a way was there's these two Mohawk girls, and they had, so there was this school, it was high school, and it was called Salmon River, and that was the high school that most of the girls on the tribe went to. And it was not on the reservation, it was like a little outside of it, but that was where all the girls went to, right? And so there were these other two girls that went to their rival, to Salmon River's rival school, and they were heavily picked on because they were the only two indigenous people at that school. It was a heavily white school predominantly, and they were very heavily picked on. They were very heavily harassed, and the school that they had went to had a very racist mascot of an indigenous person, and they just couldn't take it anymore, so they were like, bye. So they ended up going to Salmon River. But on the other hand, they also were heavily, their parents at least, were heavily into Christianity and Catholicism. And so there was these parts in the story where the clan mother took the girls and she did a sweat lodge with them, and she had them go on a vision quest. And it was really beautiful to see them reclaiming their culture so beautifully. You know what I mean? Like, the daughter of the clan mother, up until she was in 7th grade, she did not know English. She only knew Mohawk. And I thought that was like the most beautiful thing in the world, because I wish there were more indigenous people that knew their languages. You know what I mean? It's really beautiful that there are schools out there that on these reservations that are teaching our youth the language, but it's not often enough. And so there are a lot of the youth and people my age that don't know their cultural language, and it's sad. It's really sad. So it was really beautiful to see that the clan mother was so bent on having her daughter know Mohawk, and I think that was beautiful. But for the other two girls whose parents were heavily into Christianity, they felt like they were missing out on knowing more about their heritage, their culture, and their spiritual ways by being Catholic, by being Christian, you know what I mean? And because of colonization, that has plagued so many indigenous people. And not just in Turtle Island, but in all over this whole entire Mother Earth. There are indigenous people who they call themselves indigenous, and they completely are 100%, but they feel lost. They feel so lost because of things like, Christianity, and things like alcoholism, and, just the abuse that have been put on our people for centuries. You know what I mean? It's hard for us, and it's something that, we're trying to eradicate it, and in a lot of instances we're getting better at that, but it's still something that plagues us so hard. And there was this one point where the clan mother's daughter was basically telling her story of how she felt so when she started going, because before 7th grade, she had not gone to public school. She was being like homeschooled by her mom, which was awesome. She was really learning her culture. She was really learning her language. It was really beautiful. Then in 7th grade, she ended up going to public school. And that was the first time that she had learned her ABCs in English, right? And so for her, it was really a hard experience because she felt out of place, and she felt very much like an outsider. And it took her to a point where she was suicidal. She felt like killing herself. She tried to hang herself, and she drank Clorox bleach. And it was really sad hearing her story, because that's a lot of indigenous youth these days. It's like they want to kill themselves. They get into alcohol, they get into drugs, they get into violence. And it becomes this epidemic where they don't feel worthy. They don't feel beautiful enough. They don't feel their culture and who they were put on Mother Earth to be is special enough to even live their lives. And it breaks my heart, because we should not feel the way that we feel. And that's not just indigenous people either. That's Black people, Latino, Latina, all of it. You know what I mean? We all are radiant, bright, and vibrant people who come from these rich cultures that, come on, really? We freaking built civilizations before people in Europe were even thinking about creating something. Like, if our cultures weren't so incredible, they wouldn't want to come to our continents and try to take all of our resources and our skills and try to use us to their advantage. If we were not so smart, if we were not so beautiful, if we were not so resilient. And that's the thing, that's the thing. We are super resilient. It's just so sad that the youth can't see that in themselves. You know what I mean? They can't see that they are so beautiful. They come from rich, amazing cultures. They should be proud of that. And by taking yourself out of this world, you're basically giving the oppressor permission to basically keep oppressing you and keep making you feel less than who you are. But you are not. You are beautiful. You are vibrant, radiant, and you are important. And our culture is important. And we need to relearn our cultures and relearn our spiritual practices and be one with Mother Earth, because at the end of the day, all that matters is the Creator and Mother Earth and our culture and our spiritual beliefs. That is all that matters. It doesn't matter what these people have done to us. It doesn't matter what they say about us, who they think we are, what they think we are, the way that they act. We have to be strong, and we have to be real in the way that we conduct ourselves in this world. We cannot let them get us down. We just can't. Anyways, back to the story. So there was that part, and then there was the two girls whose parents were Christian, And I could relate to that on some levels. Now, my parents were never Christian. I mean, growing up, but that doesn't really count. Um, way I can relate to that is they felt that they were not connected to their culture the way that the other girls were by having a spiritual connection to being Mohawk. And there are days where I do feel, and not spiritual, but more of a cultural connection because I didn't grow up on a reservation. Because I didn't grow, and I was around a lot of indigenous people growing up. And that's not just northern, like Turtle Island. That's people from Australia, New Zealand, Central South America, all over the world. And for me, that was connecting to my culture more than anything else. More than living on a reservation could have. More than, having a spiritual teacher, because my mom was my spiritual teacher. And, I just think about that all the time, that, wow, you didn't grow up on a reservation, so you don't have the same type of connection to your culture that other indigenous people do, like my two best friends who grew up on reservations. And, they have a closer connection to the culture than I ever will. But then I have to remember that it's not where you come from, because reservation is just a place. It's just a place. It's just a construct. It's just a thing. What really makes you indigenous and helps you to connect to the culture and the spirituality is how you conduct yourself, is the ways that you go about learning and connecting with Mother Earth and with your spirituality and your culture. And that was something that the clan mother had told the two girls when they told her, we're feeling very isolated because we, didn't grow up learning about the spiritual part of being Mohawk. And she was like, but I don't know what you're talking about. I see two beautiful Mohawk girls right here standing beside me. And just because you didn't grow up with that part of being Mohawk doesn't mean you're not Mohawk. Doesn't mean that you don't have the right to rep being Mohawk any more or any less than any of the other girls. And I really resonated with that heavily, because it doesn't matter that I didn't grow up on a reservation, and it doesn't matter that I, grew up in the suburbs of a major city. I am still indigenous, and I still conduct myself in that manner, and the way that I connect with the Creator and Mother Earth, and the way that I practice my spirituality and practice my culture, that's what matters. And so that was just really, really beautiful to me. And this documentary is just a really beautiful testament to first of all, it's the testament to the power of women, the power of girls, and the power of resilience and fighting back. Because, these girls had all the odds against them, right? Being girls, check. Being indigenous, check. Not being men, check. It's hard. It's so hard. To be an indigenous woman, to be a black woman, to be a Latina, to be any other type of woman but white, it is just so hard. It can be very, very hard and oppressing and oppressive, and just you feel so down. But that moment where you're feeling down because you're a woman and people are oppressing you that way, and because you're indigenous or you're a black person or you're a Latina and they're pushing you down to your very limit, that is when you stand up and fight against. And you don't let them take you down. You don't let them come at you with the same old BS they've been talking about forever. You tell them, I am a strong strong woman. I am a strong Indigenous woman. I am a strong Black woman. I am a strong Latina, and I will continue to be a strong woman. And it doesn't matter what you say about me or my people, because I'm going to keep being me. And at the end of the day, the fact that you are still here, living life, being who you are, is the way that you are able to resist against the patriarchal BS and the racism. Anyways, the movie documentary on Netflix is called Keepers of the Game. It's a really great movie. I also recommend that you go check out Crooked Arrows. It is also about lacrosse stickball, but from the boys' point of view, and it's a really, really beautiful story as well. So if you're like a sports person, go watch it. If you are Indigenous, please go watch it. Definitely. If you're a woman, go watch it. And if you just want to learn about a beautiful, resilient, awesome culture, and I've actually had the privilege of meeting Mohawk people before, and they're just the most beautiful, fearless people that you will ever meet, really. They're so amazing. And if you're willing to check out somebody else's culture that you don't know about, go check it out. So yeah, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on this movie. Just recommend it to you, and talk about being Indigenous myself, because I just think that it's important that people know about these things and are telling these stories, because they need to be told. They really do. They need to be told. So yeah, until next time, my beautiful starseeds, my beautiful indigos, Akwesasne. Peace and blessings.
Yang piri magchita mui kansbewa evi mampiwa chokahinong dahon tani